He gave China a voice that laughed, that cried, that told the truth. He believed stories could heal a wounded nation. Mao believed stories should worship the ruler. When the Cultural Revolution erupted, books burned, heroes fell, and the greatest writer of a generation was dragged into the streets like a criminal. Tonight, in Dictators Files, The Dark Side of Power, we follow the final hours of Lao She, a national treasure crushed because a dictator feared his words. Lao She was born 1899 in Beijing to a poor Manchu family in a collapsing empire. His father, a guard killed during the Boxer Rebellion. His mother scrubbed floors to keep the family alive. Lao She learned early the powerful write history. The poor suffer it, so he decided to write, not for emperors, but for the people emperors ignore. 1920s. Lao She travels to London. He teaches Chinese. He reads Dickens. He studies satire, humor, the power of storytelling to expose injustice. Historian Jonathan Spence writes, Lao She returned with a conviction that literature must serve the people, not the rulers. He carries that conviction home, like a weapon. Back in China, he writes stories that make peasants feel seen. Rickshaw Boy, Camel Jiangzi, a worker crushed by a cruel society. Teahouse, ordinary lives bending under political storms. Lao She becomes a national icon. His writing is a mirror, and China recognizes itself in the pain. Audiences laugh, and then feel guilty for laughing. That is his genius. By the 1940s, war consumes China, but Lao She refuses to stop writing. His pen becomes a lifeline, a reminder of humanity. In a world turning savage. When the communists take power in 1949, they celebrate him. They want his fame, his influence, his talent. What they do not want is his honesty. 1949. The People's Republic of China rises. Fireworks, flags, a new dawn, or so people think. The party crowns Lao She a model artist. They give him titles. Vice Chairman of the Beijing Federation of Literary and Art Circles. National Committee positions. Invitations to praise Mao's vision. He attends government rallies. He shakes hands with officials. He becomes the cultural face of the new China. Crowds adore him. The party displays him like a trophy. But Mao doesn't reward talent. He uses it. Lao She writes patriotic works. He tries to align literature with people's struggles, but Mao begins to change the rules. Art must not question society. Art must worship Mao. Historian Rana Mitter notes, writers were valuable only so long as they amplified Mao's ideology. Lao She's pen once exposed injustice. Now he is pressured to pretend injustice doesn't exist. His earlier stories, the ones filled with satire, pain, truth, start to look like crime scenes. To a paranoid regime, officials whisper, his thinking is still soft. He sympathizes with weakness. In Mao's world, compassion is counter-revolutionary. Lao She attends meetings where writers apologize for imaginary crimes. Poets rewrite verses to glorify Mao. Fear replaces creativity. Lao She watches friends collapse under accusations. He tells himself, "If I remain loyal, I will be safe." But Mao never fears enemies. He fears witnesses, and Lao She has seen too much. A man in the heart of culture, who still believes art should protect the people instead of the ruler. A dictator cannot tolerate that belief. The applause is about to stop. The year is 1965. Criticism of state failures echoes inside intellectual circles. But the regime stares back. Among playwrights and writers, there is hope. Maybe art can still speak truth. But Mao sees danger. He smells threat. He doesn't want enemies with power. He wants worshippers, blind and young. And so he begins to build an army, not of soldiers, of students. After the publication of the controversial play Hai Rui Dismissed from Office and heated disputes in cultural institutions, Mao decides the cultural realm must be cleansed. He needs a force loyal only to him to purge bourgeois thinking, revisionism, and anyone daring to hold the regime accountable. State media pulses with warnings. School campaigns preach, revolution must not just rewrite politics, it must rewrite minds. Every class under the Communist Party becomes a training ground in suspicion. In the spring of 1966, students at top Beijing schools such as Tsinghua and Peking University begin to gather. They draft big character posters criticizing university leadership, calling them betrayal, elitism, bourgeois. Mao approves. He broadcasts their message in state newspaper. Suddenly these students are not just rebels. They are martyrs. They are the righteous fists of the Cultural Revolution. The paramilitary groups calling themselves Red Guards spread across China like wildfire. Almost every city sees them emerge by August 1966. Young men and women, some barely teenagers, don green jackets, sew red armbands on their sleeves, transforming from students to hunters. Why Mao chose youth over party. Party cadres too wedded to procedure. Intellectuals too dangerous. They ask questions. Soldiers too connected to history. But students, idealistic, eager, untested, hungry for identity and power, are perfect. They don't carry guns. They carry fanaticism, belief, blind faith. Historian Andrew G. Walder calls the Red Guards the vanguard of terror. Mao sees an army he can control, a mob he can unleash, a generation he can reshape. Weeks before the purge begins, libraries are raided, books labeled bourgeois, classical music banned, textbooks rewritten to praise Mao's thought. Artists warned, creativity ends, obedience begins. Lao She watches reports, but continues writing. He believes in art. He believes in conscience. He believes in survival. He has not yet understood. Under Mao, conscience becomes crime. Truth becomes treason. And art becomes the first battlefield. On May 16, 1966, the regime's new circular declares the Cultural Revolution officially started. Beyond politics, beyond economy. Now thought, culture, history itself is under revolution. The Red Guards are unleashed across China, from cities to villages, youth mobilized, books burned, temples smashed, scholars hunted, Mao doesn't need to give orders. He only needs to stand back, silent, smiling. Because now the terror is in motion, and the countryside trembles. Not under tanks, but under chants. Destroy the four olds. Long live Chairman Mao. The revolution is no longer a purge of enemies. It is a war on memory, culture, humanity. Lao She, beloved poet and novelist, feels the air change. He senses the danger before the dogs are unleashed. But like many others, he does not run. He stands, and soon realizes he is paper in the path of a storm built on fear. August 1966. Beijing streets thunder with footsteps. Red guards swarm like a plague of zealotry. They chant Mao's name with a devotion so fierce it drowns out conscience. They believe they are cleansing China's soul, but they are about to destroy it. Mao's orders go out. Destroy the four olds, old ideas, old culture, old customs, old habits. Red guards interpret this as burn books, break minds, crush anyone who thinks. Libraries are ransacked, temples smashed, teachers slapped until teeth shatter. And in Beijing, a name appears on a Red Guard blacklist: Lao She, national writer, enemy of the revolution, armed with clubs, belts, and hatred. Red Guards storm the Beijing Writers Association. They kick down doors. They tear art from walls. They shout accusations they barely understand. Counter-revolutionary, rightist, protector of old culture. Lao She is seized, beaten, humiliated. His glasses shatter. Blood stains his shirt. He has written stories about human cruelty. Now he is trapped inside one. Historian Jung Chang writes, "Writers were among the first targets, their minds seen as threats. They drag him to Beijing's Temple of Confucius, a shrine of wisdom for 2,000 years. Red guards scream, 'Confucius is trash. Lao She must confess.' They force him to kneel on broken glass fragments and bricks. They beat him. Whenever he tries to lift his head, they spit at him for the crime of making China proud. Tourists once visited this place for history. Now the world watches. A nation devour its own soul. Someone stomps on his back. Someone yanks his hair. Someone burns his manuscript pages, holding the ashes to his face. Every cheer is another cut. Every fist a sentence. Lao She, the gentle storyteller, becomes the example. This is what happens when art refuses to kneel before power. Hours later, unconscious and battered, Red Guards dump him. Outside a detention center, no charges, no mercy, no way back to the man he was. His voice, once beloved across China, now only trembles in pain. Tomorrow, they say, the struggle session will continue. And Lao She quietly wonders, if thoughts are a crime, how do I stop thinking? Lao She lies bruised on a hard cot. Each breath hurts. Every muscle remembers the fists. The humiliation echoes louder than the pain. He once wrote stories that made the nation laugh, cry, and think. Now the nation has been taught to fear thinking. He hears distant chants outside. Long live Chairman Mao. Destroy the enemies of the people. He wonders if he has become what they say he is. That is the final cruelty of a dictatorship. It tries to make you believe you deserve the punishment. Historian Roderick MacFarquhar put it simply: intellectuals were not to be corrected, but broken. On the night of August 23, 1966, Lao She leaves the detention building. No guards notice. Or perhaps they look away. He walks through Beijing's alleys, a city he once adorned with stories. He passes the tea houses he immortalized, empty, doors bolted. Fear is the only customer now. Passing under a bridge, he reaches the quiet banks of Taiping Lake. The moon reflects in the water, calm and indifferent. He looks at the city he gave his life to, a city now trained to hate him. The official story says Lao She took his own life, but witnesses later saw deep marks and injuries, far more than one struggle session could explain. Records conflicted, reports changed, truth vanished. In a dictatorship, even death must serve the narrative. By dawn, his body is dragged from the water. No headline announces it. No crowd mourns. His name becomes forbidden. His books quietly disappear from shelves. His family instructed to keep silent. China's greatest storyteller is erased with a single night of official denial. Because Mao needed the nation to learn. Words are dangerous. Silence is survival. Lao She wrote characters who fought to keep their dignity. Yet in the end, he could not keep his. Not under Mao. Lao She's body grows cold, but the regime's hatred burns hotter than ever. In Mao's China, a corpse can still be guilty. His manuscripts seized. His personal letters confiscated. His name deleted from magazines, encyclopedias, cultural records. Libraries quietly remove Rickshaw Boy. Schools stop teaching Teahouse. Critics who once praised him now spit on his memory to save their own skin. Red Guards brag, "We killed a symbol of the old culture." And Beijing trembles because they are right. His wife, Hu Jieqing, a respected painter, is dragged into interrogation rooms. His children are forced to confess their father's crimes. They are told, if you defend him, you join him. A family once proud is now sentenced to silence. Every day, the state broadcasts joy. Workers cheering. Factories thriving. Revolution victorious. But every night, teachers burn books in secret. Mothers hide photographs under floorboards. People whisper, Lao She's stories like forbidden prayers. Because Mao can ban a name. But he cannot stop memories from bleeding. As years pass, universities shut down. Artists disappear. Scholars commit suicide. Teachers lynched in classrooms. China's mind is collapsing. And the ghost of Lao She haunts every empty library shelf. By 1976, 10 million lives are shattered. Mao's paranoia becomes China's punishment. Lao She is gone. But the wound he represents only grows deeper. He loved China. China was ordered to hate him. Under Mao, loyalty means nothing. Only obedience matters. Only fear survives. Lao She died once in a lake. Mao made him die 1,000 times afterward. September 9th, 1976. Mao Zedong's heart stops. His terror does not. China wakes to a strange silence. The silence of a monster finally gone. But a nation cannot celebrate. It has forgotten how. In the years that follow, leaders scramble to clean the blood from history's pages. They resurrect the names of those Mao destroyed: Liu Shaoqi, Peng Dehuai, Peng Zhen, and Lao She. The state announces the charges were false, the struggle was madness, the artist is innocent. A decade too late. Lao She's works are reprinted. His name returns to textbooks. His stories once again find readers. But they no longer laugh the same way. For his family, rehabilitation does not erase the bruises, the screams, the lake, the empty chair at every meal. Historian Jonathan Spence wrote, "The party restored his name, but could not restore the years it stole." China now proudly calls him a master of modern literature. But every honor feels like an apology to a man who cannot accept it. Every play performed is a reminder of what fear destroyed. Every applause echoes the silence of August 23rd, 1966. Lao She believed stories could save a nation. Mao believed no story should exist without his shadow on the page. And so the greatest storyteller of a generation was forced into the quietest death. Under a dictator, words are dangerous, truth is fatal, and silence is the only survival.